Hey everybody, and welcome to this ramble type video, I guess, about all things PC. So I thought I get a lot of questions about what my system is, what I use, and I also thought we would have a look at some of the builds on PC Partpicker and see what the choices are out there for people. About a year ago I did a video on PC Partpicker before, and we had a look at some of the options out there to make maybe like a £500 gaming PC, or I've also done a video on like streaming PCs and things like that, what you can get. But obviously PC hardware evolves constantly. Prices change, fluctuates a lot, as we'll see. Yeah, it's so choices vary, I guess. And the other thing we have to throw into the equation this year is the release, or at least potential release, of the new consoles which are coming out. So if you're not aware, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are coming out this year. I said potentially because with the ongoing massive issues which don't need to be named, you could potentially see that delayed till next year. It seems unlikely. I think what is more likely is that demand will outstrip supply, and much in the same way the Nintendo Switch is at the minute, you will struggle to probably find a lot of them unless you are pre-ordering, and you will probably find a lot of them on eBay for extremely hyped up prices. So unless you're one of the lucky ones, I guess, who will be able to get a pre-order in and secure that, you might not get them at the supposed price that they're going to come at. Now, what that price is, we don't actually know yet either. No one's pulled that trigger yet, Xbox or PlayStation. Rumours are between £400 and £500, which is a lot. I think under 400 is a sweet spot for consoles, but I also think that there's a lot of hardware they're packing in, and when you consider that that system will last you potentially 5-6 years, it's less of a main investment. It is also worth noting that every console really runs at a loss. So PlayStation and Xbox will sell their consoles for less than they cost to make. The reason being that they will make money on the games they sell and whatever. So in terms of the PC, you can't really compete in the same way, because PCs will, prices will be there for the individual manufacturers can't make a loss because they're not selling games. AMD is not selling games. MSI are not selling games. Samsung's not selling games. So they're selling the parts. They need to make money on those parts. So you won't find that sort of value in a PC, but you will get other things out of it. We don't need to go over why a PC is better than a console, or why a console is better than a PC, but there are obviously pluses and minuses to both of them, as people are vastly aware. And if you decide to go on the internet and research that, you will find a lot of people's opinions on it. But personally, for me, I intend upon getting one of the consoles, most likely the PlayStation, because I've said this before, but because Microsoft generally, every Microsoft game they release on PC as well. There just isn't a point for me to buy an Xbox. I'd like Xbox. I had a 360. I think their launch of the X was flawed massively, or the Xbox One, sorry, was massively flawed. But I think recently they've really brought it back. The X is good. The Game Pass is fantastic, and Sony cannot compete with that currently. But Sony have the games, don't they? And I can't buy those Sony games on PC yet. We are seeing potentially a few trickle over, but I can get all the Microsoft games I want pretty much for free with the Game Pass. Not for free, but for a monthly subscription, which is not that much. So it just doesn't make sense to buy it. But anyway, so where I wanted to start was my PC, so the PC I use to play, record, do everything else that I have. I've made some fairly recent upgrades. I think it was sort of middle to end of last year. I did some upgrades. So I upgraded my CPU. I used to have a Intel 6700K. I upgraded to the Ryzen 7 3700X. Vastly more powerful. It's overclocked as well, so it's running at a much higher frequency. It's really good. I don't think I paid that much for it. I think it was a lot less than that, to be honest. I've seen some of these prices very inflated to what I actually paid. Some of them are a lot less because things are getting older, but some of them are a lot more. Yeah, it's really good. You have the 3800X as well, which is the slightly upgraded one. I couldn't tell you whether or not that is going to make a vast amount of difference for the price increase on it, but it's an option, I guess. How much actually is the 3800 compared to that? So 3700X, they're saying at 281. 3800X are saying at 316. So it's like 35 quid more. It's running at like, yeah, I'm getting boost of about that. Overclocking it currently with no issues whatsoever. Very, very stable. You're getting the same number of cores. Sure. At that point, maybe you'd be better off going for the 3900X with the 12 cores. Who knows? Whatever your usage there. The reason why I got this was because the 6700X was getting a little bit old, and actually I need to add that back in, don't I? It's getting a little bit old, and I was like, I need to upgrade. The new Ryzen's came out, and I was like, yeah, this seems good. I was also getting annoyed because my motherboard was quite old as well, like the 6700, and it there were times when I was getting crashes, which I knew was the motherboard. It wasn't like it was all the time, it was very rare, but I knew it was because when it came up with the reload screen, it was saying basically power surge. It couldn't handle the power that was trying to go through it for my graphics card and for everything else. So I was like, I want to upgrade to a beefy motherboard as well. So that's what I did. I upgraded the motherboard as well. We had the MSI MPG X570. I actually have this in the overclockers here so we can see a better look at it. It's a really nice motherboard. You have obviously your CPU goes there. Plenty of RAM slots as normal. You got your 4 RAM slots. Has really good Wi-Fi on it as well, which is something I wanted because my last motherboard didn't have Wi-Fi, and while that wasn't a huge problem for me at that time, I did want something which had Wi-Fi to give me a bit more options, basically. And it's really good Wi-Fi. I don't notice a drop compared to Ethernet. It's got supported like reinforced PCIe slots, and underneath here is where you put your these two slots here are where you put your SSDs, and or your NVMe's drives. It's really good. I've no issues with it whatsoever. People seem to have reviewed it very well. The lighting on it is fine. Like, it's not the primary reason I purchased it. It didn't really bother me that much, but yeah, there we go. So the CPU cooler as well, which I use, is not this one, but they don't actually have the one which I have. So I use this one, which is the Ryzen Tech Orcus all-in-one. I really like this one. It was good value. It had really good reviews. I don't know if you can get it anymore, to be honest. It was very, very easy to fit. It technically is not compatible with the case I use, which is the NZXT S340 Elite, but it does fit. I don't use these fans. I swapped these fans out for some Corsair ones, which are a lot quieter. These, I would say, are fairly loud fans. They're very nice looking, as you can see. They're like fully addressable RGB fans. But where I do want something which is as quiet as I can get, I swapped them out. I will say it was a good thing I actually was doing that, because when I received the unit, one of them was dead. So it didn't worry me too much, because I was like, I'm not going to use these fans anyway. But that's something to consider, I guess. I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. The T4, again, they didn't have the actual RAM I have, which is this stuff here. It's a little bit garish looking, but you can't see that obviously when it's in the slot, so it doesn't really matter. It's 3600 megahertz, which it's important to have probably at least minimum 3200 megahertz if you're going with a Ryzen system. Ryzen systems compared to Intel are very much they're a lot more reliant upon faster RAM speeds. It will make a big difference to how fast your system runs. Intel won't. Intel doesn't really matter. It's just, I guess, one of the ways their system architecture works. But I think I got this for a lot cheaper than this. I seem to remember getting about 16 gigabytes of RAM for like 120 quid or something like that, which is why I got it. It was on offer. There have been massive fluctuations in the RAM price and market price. You know, you would have found 32 gigabytes of RAM would cost you like nearly £300, maybe like 2 years ago, because the components to be used, the rare metals, were in high demand, so it pushed the price right up. Then, I don't know, but demand must have come down, and then the price suddenly plummeted, and it became really cheap, and I picked them up at that point. I wanted to upgrade to 32 gigabytes of RAM to kind of future-proof me. It wasn't totally necessary. I had 16 before, and 16 is totally fine to run any games you want. But seeing as I do sometimes run programs in the background, recording, and I was hoping to do some streaming as well. I'll be honest, I haven't. But 32 gigabyte is a very safe. You definitely don't need more than that unless you're really working on heavy projects on there. In terms of storage, I have a plethora of hard drives. The main one I use and run off is a 970 Evo Plus 500 gigabyte. That's my the one I run Windows off of. It's NVMe. It's very fast, and yeah, I'm very happy with it. We've got 850 Pro, 128 gigabyte. Not a lot on there. You can get a couple of games on there, but it does run fast. A SanDisk 1 terabyte one, which is what I use mostly for games, and then I have a Western Digital 2 terabyte, which is where I keep all my recorded videos on, basically. And believe me, just a normal, say, 30 to 45 minute video will be about 20 gigabytes of me recording, because I record it in 2K. So yeah, you do need quite a lot of space. I am having, it's not like this has all the videos I've ever made on it, hardly at all. But yeah, and then I guess the main thing, the main workhorse, is my 2080 Super that I have. We get a better picture of it here. The Aorus. It is a very nice looking card, I will say. I've done a separate video actually on it when I got it, like a kind of review of it when I got it, but it's more like an unboxing and then how it looks and stuff like that, really. It's actually my most viewed video, bizarrely. This price on here is outrageous. I paid about 750, which is what they're saying you can get it for now, I think, on here. I don't know what company this is though, but I think they're quite expensive at the minute, video cards. PC parts fluctuate a lot on there, but yeah, if we actually have a look at how much you can get a 2080 Super for nowadays, so you can get them. You can get a standardy one for under 800. That's a very cheap one, actually. £719 out of stock though. I would say that the one thing I found is, before I had a 1080 Ti, which is actually this type of variety here, the Windforce OC, and decent card, ran very well. It was loud as hell, and heating wise, it was pushing the upper limits, I would say. But the current card I've got, this one, quiet, and he like temps like really good, very good. Never kind of like having to thermal throttle itself or anything like that. It's just a really nice card. It obviously, I think, looks incredible as well. Might not be to everyone's taste, but it's great. The other thing about the previous card I had, which was the 1080 Ti version of this, there's no backplate on it. They actually have one on this one now, but before there wasn't, and it did look shit. So I don't know if they still sell 1080 Ti's. I don't think they do. They got 1070s. How much can you get 1070 for? 319 quid. Yeah, as I said, graphics cards fluctuate wildly. The 2080 Ti is prices of it is crazy still. £1,500 for the high level ones is just outrageous. For the bumper price, you're paying nearly twice what you would do for a super. And it's not worth it. Not at all. Probably the sweet spot if you're after some high level like gaming at the minute would probably be the 2070. But even a 2060 is going to get you like 1080p is going to get you really good performance there. So yeah, outrageous prices. And then I've got an NZXT S340 Elite. It's actually white, not black. I haven't got it on here actually, but let's see if I can find it. Overclockers is a UK based website. I think they have fantastic servers, and I buy most of my parts from them. Wouldn't say they're necessarily the cheapest, but they are really good. They don't actually have it anymore. It is quite an old model, and it is probably the one thing I'll upgrade within the next year. I don't think I need to order or upgrade anything else, basically. And then finally, my power supply is an Aerocool Project 7 PAT 850 Platinum. It's important to get a good power supply. Very important. 850 gives me loads and loads of room for overclocking. It's super overkill. I probably only need 650, but this was on offer. I think when I brought it, it was under £100, which is a really good price. And it had really good reviews as well. And it's platinum, which is like the highest level one you can get in terms of efficiency and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, what it is. And then I guess the last thing to kind of go through is the monitor I use at the minute, which is the Asus ROG Strix, 144 hertz, 1440p, 32 inches, so it's pretty massive, and it's curved, which some people like curved, some people don't. I do personally. It's a really, really good monitor on there as well. On there, I think I was looking at this for prices of how much I paid for things. So I paid $240 for the Ryzen. I paid £166 for that motherboard, which is currently on there for $250. So as you can see, I did get, like, when I buy things, I always try and look for a bargain on there. Oh no, I've got the Palace actually, the Ryzen Tech Palace, not the Orcas. Oh no, that's not right. That's just, I don't know what that is. I don't know what I'm buying. And the RAM I got for £138, sorry, for the 16 gigs. The £91 for the Aerocool. Oh, actually, these are not inclusive of VAT. So, yeah, I paid about well, we can work it out actually. So I paid £800 for my 2080 Super, which at the minute they're selling for if they were, yeah, it is in stock, £929. I mean, and that was on the 24th of August last year, so nearly a year ago. That's the one. I got the August core. I paid, I think it was about £80, something like that, with VAT. The Evo Plus I got, and the oh sorry, yeah, that's the cooler, and then I don't know why they separate things weirdly on here. Right, yeah, that's it basically. Yeah, that's it on there. So yeah, you can see, like, I try and get a bargain on my prices, and at the minute I wouldn't honestly say it's a great time to buy things, but you know, you can find bargains out there basically. What I wanted to do, I guess, for the second half is have a look at some builds which people have got, and then, you know, have a look at where they are. So I wanted to have a look at maybe some builds around the sort of topping out like 500 quid, and see what people are kind of building here. Date posted, let's go highest rated. Oh, actually, we shouldn't do this because this will be really old, yeah. So let's go for the newest. First gaming PC, here we go. And again, this isn't to, like, say what people are doing wrong or anything like that. This is just looking at what they're doing. So you have, and this is in dollars actually, so to be fair, oh wow, it's actually a lot. Oh, but they've got perifs on there as well. So the Ryzen 5 2600X, you can get great deals on the Ryzen, the previous series, the 2600 series, now, because obviously the prices of the 3 series, I guess, has really dropped. But I think they've gone for Ryzen 5. I wouldn't probably go lower than a Ryzen 5 personally, but it is up to you. If you were just gaming, you probably would, you could go for the Ryzen 3 3300X, which is decent. It is pretty decent. You could go for something like the Ryzen 3 3200G, which is under £100, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I think I would pay a little bit extra and go for the 3300X. And the 5, again, you've got the 3400X. These come with an APU in it, which is quite interesting. But yeah, and I guess then you have the option of, do you want to get the overclockable one? And I would definitely recommend you do on a Ryzen system. Intel, I wouldn't necessarily say you need to too much. The rule of thumb, I think, generally around AMD and Intel is AMD is a Intel if you're into pure gaming. So you want something which will give you the highest frame per second. You're not interested in streaming, recording, doing anything else on your PC. You just want the maximum frames per second. Intel is the way to go. Bang for buck, Intel generally is better. In terms of total raw speed, not even bang for buck really, raw speed. What AMD will give you, they'll give you a much better cooler. Sometimes Intel don't give you one at all, so you can save money there and just use their cooler. You'll get much better like multi-usage out of it, so you will be able to do a lot more with it. Your computer will be able to handle opening a lot more, work stuff on there. You will have to pay for better RAM. So you see here, like 3200, 3600 megahertz RAM recommended, compared to Intel where you don't. So the RAM will cost you a little bit more, but it's not a huge amount more. AMD generally has better efficiency, so you use less power generally than a Intel, which can be important to a lot of people. And generally as well, I find personally the motherboards on the AMD are cheaper as well, because that's something to take into account on there as well. But it does depend. You can get really great bargains on motherboards. You just have to look around. So it's not that much of a deal. So they've gone for the X470 Gaming Plus ATX AM4. I guess this is their picture of it as well. They've got the stock cooler in there as well. 16 gigabytes of RAM. an Evo 970 500 gigabytes SSD, the 1060 GeForce, so that isn't a picture of it because that is actually a AMD card. So they've gone for the 660 on there. I would possibly, if you're going, the rule of thumb around graphics cards, you have Nvidia and AMD. Nvidia produce the most powerful graphics cards you can get. Nothing AMD makes so far can touch a high-end 2080 Super or 2080 Ti. However, when you get to the lower end of graphics card, bang for buck, much better. And generally you can get really good deals on them as well. So generally something like a 580 is pretty decent and will get you generally better performance, I think, than it would from a 1060. But again, choices of some people will just prefer Nvidia and be like, yeah, Nvidia is just better for me, you know. So the GTX 1060 there, he's got for $273. We're looking here at like, if you wanted to get, you know, one of these ones, you're looking at 180 quid. How much for a 1060 on here? I wouldn't even go 1060 anyway. I'd go 1660, but it might be, you know, 250 quid. Yeah, it's just not 1660 Ti, 260 quid. Yeah, I wouldn't go 1060 at all. 1660 Ti, possibly 1660 Super. But you're still looking at 250. I think if you were going for something that is quite budgety, which that is, I would probably go for an RX 580 potentially. You'd get decent performance out of that. Don't think anything else would really be that good to use for that kind of budget. But yeah, so I wouldn't go 1060. Cases are all about what you want. You can spend hundreds on a case and it will make no difference to how your computer runs, just the difference of how it looks. But also, you can sometimes spend a little bit more on a case and find a big difference in the way your PC runs. So what I mean by that is basically airflow. So say mid towers are generally what people get. These are the kind of standard sized kind of PCs that you get. So a lot of the time you should look and see whether or not they have fans which come with it and how many they get. I've always quite liked this Ryzen Tech one here. It's only £60, which is not a lot. I think it looks pretty nice. It has these massive 200 mil fans at the front there, so lots of like radiator support. Pretty smart with a tempered glass. The size of the fans is important in some ways because noise levels. So you're not necessarily going to get better airflow than you would with a 120mm fan, but what you'll get is the same airflow, but the fan running quieter because it will run slower. So that can kind of make a big difference to the way your what you want for your PC. If you're like, I don't really care about noise because I'm going to be wearing headphones and gaming or whatever, you know, then fine, don't have to worry about it. You know, some of us do have to worry about it quite a lot. So yeah, but and you know, sometimes people can be like, for example, this case, airflow compromised because you've got that solid front. You're only going to get intake from the side down here and potentially from the bottom as well. So you might find things run hotter. When things run hotter, it can affect the longevity of the lifespan. It can affect how loud they are, because if they're hotter, the fans have to run faster to keep it cooler. So things make a difference. But you might be like, well, I really like that look, so that's what I want. You know, cases are all about really what you want. You're never going to get a case which is completely silent. So say, for example, this one is made for silence. You're never going to get that which is running cool. It's always going to run quite hot. But you might be like, well, I'll take the running hot for the fact that I get it silenced. You know, So you have to really balance what you want from a case. So cases is kind of, I think, very much down to what people want. Power supply, 650 watt is quite overkill, I think, for this system, but $49 is quite a good price for that. Let's have a look at what we can get them for in the UK. So he was going 650. And he was paying $49. That is pretty cheap, to be fair. That would be like, I don't know if they do what. Yeah, you can't even really get them for that price. And I probably wouldn't spend that little on a power supply. Well, you have to think about your power supply is it's hooked up to everything. So if your power supply fries, it can take out everything in your PC. So I would always recommend spending a decent amount of money on a power supply. Do not skimp on it, because otherwise, and get it from a good supplier, and get it checked. Look at reviews for it, definitely. It's going to make a big difference on there. And then his peripherals he's got here, which is fine. Like you don't really have to. You can spend what you want on peripherals. I would say a 1080p 75Hz monitor for 126 quid, $126 seems about fine. What size was it? It was only 24. Let's see what you can get on here. So 140 quid will get you this one. It'll get you a TM panel, which is not the greatest. I would always recommend going IPS over TN, unless you're really trying to save money. You will really notice the difference on there than you would compared to a TN. You've got a 75Hz one here, which is £109. I'm going to guess it's TN. But also, I see people as well who have a really expensive system, then I have like 24-inch monitors. I'm like, what's the point? Like, do yourself a favour, get a decent monitor. No point having a really powerful machine if you've got nothing to show for it. The whole idea of, and also always get one which has got a high refresh rate, because what's the point of getting a gaming PC if you're not going to play at high refresh rates of 60 plus? It doesn't. You can get, at the end of the day, you might be like, well, the games I play, for example, if you're not really into fast-paced games, you might be like, well, I play a lot of like Civilization or something like that, so you're like 144 hertz, I'm not gonna really care about it. Sure, it'll look smoother, but it's not gonna kill me. So you can get really good. I would then say try and get the highest resolution you can get, whether that's 4K, 2K, whatever, on there. Imagine having a 65-inch 4K 144 hertz gaming. That is the dream, isn't it? I can't even imagine how good that must look, or how many 2080 Ti's you would need to run that. But yeah, otherwise I'd say he's got some good ideas, I think, there, but I potentially wouldn't go for the 1060 at all. Might be getting it second hand on there. Right, let's have a look at what else we've got on here. My first quarantine build. I like this case. I actually brought this case to my girlfriend's PC. It's really nice. Cooler Master one, quite cheap. Plastic like here, but I still think it's got like just a really clean design, and it's quite small. Yeah, it's hard to find deals. Yeah, it is quite hard at the minute. So he's gone for the 3200G, which I kind of said about. I don't see the point of getting that if you're going to get a graphics card with it, because it's got the built-in APU. Yeah, and he's got the 1650 as well, which is really not very powerful. 1650, not even the Super either. Looking like 150 quid. Again, I would probably go AMD on that and go for a 570 maybe. A little bit more, but I think you're going to get much better bang for your buck there. Yeah, the Master Box, that's what it is. The Cooler Master Box. Wow, to get it for 20 quid is a really good option. And then he's gone for 16 gigs of RAM, which I guess is standard, but again, it's only, I'd rather have 8 gigs at a faster speed with this system that would be my kind of personal. But I guess 16 gigs. He says he's flipped it, so it would sell better, if that makes sense. He was looking to flip it. So, and then power supply is saying 0, so I guess he got that for free, or had a spare one or something. I don't know. And then he's got a real basic motherboard, which is fine. Like, it's a basic system at the end of the day. On there, let's go for something a bit more expensive. See, up to like 1,000. My first build. Here we go. This looks good. It's got the custom cables there. Oh, it's got a nice little like system here as well. First PC I made to switch from console to gaming PC. So far, everything runs great at 1080p, 4400 Hertz. Haven't run into issues with the 5600 XG. I used orange vinyl wrap to wrap the 2 SSDs. Oh, okay. I can't see them. I don't know what the point of that was then. If you can't see them. Oh, so they're there. Okay, so there is a good point to it then. That's pretty cool. What case is that? That's the Dark Flash DL-M21. It's quite nice. He's gone for the RX 5600 XT. $287. 5600 XT. Yeah, it seems like he's paying quite a lot for that. If we're getting it for that many pounds, because at a conversion rate, the pound is much stronger than the dollar. So that seems quite a lot he's paid for that. But whatever. I would also always get maybe like a power color or a sapphire, AMD card. They do make really good ones actually, and I think they look really nice too. I quite like the chunky look of the AMD cards compared to the Nvidia ones. 550 watt power supply is pretty decent. 256. These crucial MX SSDs. If you're after a kind of bog standard SSD, you don't want to pay a lot. They are very, very solid. You can see you can get a 500 gig one for 80 quid. You can find these much better bargains as well than this, by the way. 250 gig one for 44. It's pretty good. If we look at 240 to 400, yeah, so you can get some cheap ones. I would say that do look at the speeds, because sometimes the speeds are no better than what you would get with a mechanical hard drive. But yeah, SSDs are so cheap nowadays. Yeah, so I'd say okay, and he's got the Ryzen 5 3600. Not overclockable, so he's gone for the 3600 rather than 3600X, which is a price difference of Ryzen 5. We looked at this before, I think, didn't we? Yeah. So it's like 50 quid difference to get the X and be able to overclock it. So you can't overclock it if it's not the X, basically. Which would, I think, potentially worry me. But then he might be turning around and going, well, then I'd have to buy a better cooler or something like that, and it's not going to bother me. But then again, he's already brought one, so he's brought the power supply sleeves, and he's got the PC cooler. Oh, okay, so that's the fans he's put in basically to make it look good. It does look good. We'll say that actually. And he's got the bog standard cooler on there. I mean, I think you would get much better performance. And again, this is my opinion on here. So the Dark Flash looks like it doesn't ship with fans. So that's why he's brought the fan potential. I would potentially it depends what you want, doesn't it? It looks great. I would potentially have sacrificed maybe some money on the fans and gone for the better CPU. This doesn't also come with the better cooler as well, which is interesting. I think the 3600X does come with the Race Spire cooler, which is better, but again, it's way more money, so not a lot you can do there, I guess. If you're looking for kind of bang for buck or the way it looks, it's I guess the options you have. End of the world 2020. You can upgrade. Last build was built in 2012. Fair enough. So he's gone for the Ryzen 5 3600X. I think it's a very popular one. He's gone for the B450 Gaming Plus. He's gone for a Mini ITX. His cable management is terrible. It's not terrible, but it's not great. I would say it can be cleaned up a lot. Okay, so someone here is saying don't use the 3600X. They're saying don't pay the extra 50. I don't know about that. I'd have to look into it and see the graphs actually and see what performance you're getting, because being able to overclock, you do get a good overclock, but then again, I guess that also depends on your you have to upgrade different things, I guess, as well there. So maybe on an overall price, maybe it's not worth it. 2060 Super, decent card. I think paying 500 quid for that, is that really how much they cost? 2060 Super. No, they don't. Well, some do, I guess, some don't. Depends what you want. Again, like, I think when you're at the lower end cards, you don't necessarily need to go for the high end card, but as you go up, I kind of would recommend it. Like, you could get the nice Asus Strix ones, but I mean, what's the difference between these two here? Of why there's a £20 difference. The boost clock, 1860 boost clock on this one, 1680 on that one. Interesting. Something to look out for, I guess, on there. But overall, I think it's a fairly decent build. Let's have a look at another one while we're here. Any that catch my eye? This one seems quite tidily. Yeah, not terrible, I guess. Not a lot of bling in there. Big old. It's got a massive CPU cooler for just having a 3600. Yeah, the Scythe Mugen is huge. Like, it seems like you could see the best value now. That would be enough for now, but 2 extra cores, future proof. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. What people are saying. Future upgrade, Mobo's fairly solid. Oh, has he gone for the... oh yeah, he's gone for a 570. So that gives him some future proof there on the 470. He's got 16 gigs of RAM, HyperX Fury. I've had that RAM before, it's pretty decent. This is in euros as well. 1650 Super. Again, I think the AMD gives you better performance at that lower end-ish. But it's totally up to what people want to do. For money-wise, I mean that will be more powerful, but you'll pay a lot more if that makes sense. Storage, yeah, it's fine, I guess. And yeah, it's gone for, I think it's quite a nice aesthetic, just keeping it very kind of clean and simple. That's a massive, like, I really like the Scythe cooler. It can turn the fans to full speed still, sounds quite pleasant. Temperature's maybe not the very best. Mate, that cooler keeps the CPU under 80 at full load. Yeah, I mean, it should do. That's a massive cooler for that CPU, personally. Let's find an Intel one, actually. So, i5 9400, the A-tier build, built to sell. What is that CPU cooler? What is that? He hasn't put it on here. 3 fans on a heatsink. Interesting. It's called an RPG sandwich, yeah. I couldn't find the CPU on here, but it's a low profile, double heatsink, triple. Oh my god, I got it on Banggood. Okay, interesting. Let's have a look. Wow. 30 quid. Yeah, I would be incredibly skeptical of that, personally. But I'd like to know the numbers, actually. Does he say? I'll post thermal results when I get to it. It's an interesting looking thing, isn't it? But I personally wouldn't have gone for that. I'd go for something a little bit more trusted. Maybe it looks like an experiment gone wrong, but that's Banggood for you, I guess. We could probably do a whole video just looking at things on Banggood and like, what is this crazy thing you get on here? You can get some great deals on there, by the way. Mechanical keyboards, you get some really good deals on there, but there's some stuff on there which is like, what the hell is this? And then let's go for maybe 1500 plus, and what people are doing. Okay, so that is very clean looking. That is very nice. What has he got there? So he's got the i9 9900K. Again, if you really want gaming performance, that is a great CPU. He's got the Corsair H100, yeah, all in one, which looks great. The white looks awesome. Gaming Edge Micro, the MSI. He's got the Corsair RAM, 512. Only a 512. He must have something else as well. That's not enough storage, really. 2070 Super, very decent. Hasn't got the price on there though, so I guess that's affecting the way it is. That is a really nice case, the Corsair Crystal. I see a lot of people using that. What's quite nice is the power supply goes out the back, so it hides that. Get all your cables out there, and then you can, have a complete mess of cables out the back, and no one's ever going to see it. It's got plenty of fans in there. What you should have really, I think, is them pulling in air, and then that. Well, actually, they should really be on a pull with that kind of the way that looks, because otherwise, if they're pulling air up, they're going to pull the hot air from there up through the radiator. So you would ideally have them pulling air down from outside, which is cool, but then you would need that to extract as well. You'd have that probably pushing cool air in and potentially out the back there, the hot air. I don't know, that's a bit of a weird setup there, I think, in a way. India spent a lot on fans as well, as you would have to, but I bet it looks nice. But he has that dancing away. Nice build. Okay, so what case is that? That's a Fantex ATX 4. So he's got an i7 9700K. For this type of price, my first opinion of this is it's not much of a looker, is it? On there, what what graphics card has he got? 1660 Ti. Why is this so expensive? Is because he's adding in all the peripherals as well. It's got a sound card, which is interesting. You don't see that much nowadays. There's a reason why he's got the sound card. He hasn't put, I don't think. The front of the case has a nice I/O with 2 USB subs, a microphone port, headphone port, and the button. I don't know what it does. Okay. I will say the Noctua cooler is very good. Noctua, very good coolers. A couple. I don't know why you would go for two 250 gigabyte drives instead of one. And he's got a hybrid drive, which is fine. And then he's got 500. Oh my god, he's got like 2 terabytes. No, he's got a terabyte there for less than you could just buy 1 terabyte drive. Weird. Yeah, sorry, 2 terabytes. So he's got no 50. Oh, I don't even know what he's got. It's weird. No, sorry, that's a mechanical there. I don't know if I would be too happy with this system. Optical drive. Wow. Okay, he's old school. No one. Look at this. What is this? Wow. Has he put? Okay, maybe he needs it then. Yeah. Looking for bang for buck. So yeah, it looks like he uses it for work and stuff like that. So he needs that type of stuff, but it's a weird one. My boy's first gaming PC, built this from 11-year-old son. Jesus Christ, 1500 gaming PC. But how could I be your kid? Yeah, exactly. Nice case. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that is a lucky kid. So he's got a Ryzen 7 3700, 2060. Nice. 16 gigs of RAM. Yeah, it's solid. Very solid. Yeah. Nice. I hope his kid enjoys that. Let's see if we've got any like real high-end ones, shall we? Like upwards. That's just overkill in my opinion. You do not need that many fans. He's got a Ryzen 9. Nice. He's got yeah, obviously he's got the liquid cooling. Fancy liquid cooling. Very expensive motherboard. $340 worth of fans. Memory. So he's got 32 gigs memory. Oh, a couple of very, very expensive drives. Only a 2070 Super. That's what I find a bit strange. It's like you're spending £600 on storage and you're only getting a 2070 Super. You're spending $340 on fans and you only have a 2070 Super. I'm sorry, I don't understand that personally. Does he say why? No. But see, probably a new Minecraft Dungeons, but it's mainly for editing. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. But I do some casual gaming with my kids. That's totally fair, actually. I grabbed 3900X for $409 on Newegg. That's decent. So yeah, I guess yeah. At the end of the day, whatever people use it for, that will be a good build for them. What does anybody get really crazy with their prices? 2080 Ti's, yeah, pretty standard, I guess. Can we look at highest price? No graphics card needed. Butt ripper. First build, and you paid £5,000 for it. It's primarily gaming. It runs Minesweeper pretty well. It'll start running on the Snake game though. So we've got the new i9 10 series, which is extremely expensive. 2080 Ti, extremely expensive. 1000 watt power supply, extremely overkill. You wouldn't need 1000 watt though. If you had 2 graphics card, maybe, but not with that. Yeah, so people get pretty crazy, I think, with these builds. I think what you find is optimal price for a PC build is probably about £1,000. When you between like 1,000 and 1,500, when you start going over that, what you get is this curve, shall we say, where like your performance will really go up the more money you spend up to a certain point, and then you'll have to spend extreme amounts of money to get more performance. So what I mean by that is, for example, you can get a 2080 Super for say £800. If you want more performance, you then have to spend £1,200 to £1,400, but you're only getting probably 20 frames per second for that performance. Whereas if you go from a 2060 Super, which is £400, to 2080, which is £800, you're getting a lot more, possibly even double the performance there at say 1440p or 4K. So you're what's the term for it? I've forgotten what it's called. But the gain you're getting is not comparable to the money you're spending. The curve goes up and then it almost flattens out, because once you get to a certain point, no matter how much money you're throwing at it, like thousands and thousands of pounds, if we were on here to put a couple of 2080s in our basket, put the latest and greatest 10 series in there, the i9. Yeah, say the ROG Maximus in there. Oh, you get some free earphones for your £500 motherboard. Yeah, your £300, or say something like that, 1200 plus power supply, your RAM, say your 32 gigs of RAM, and you got Intel, so you don't really need it, but so like you want to add 2 of them in there. A couple of them in there. You know, your solid state drives. Maybe you want the NVMEs, and you're gonna have another backup or something like that. Yeah, you're getting to £5,000 here. It's silly money. And sure, yeah, you could take one of those out, say 1,500, but you're still looking at like over £3,000, and that performance you would get for over £3,000 would be a little bit better than something if you spent £2,000 on it. So, and that £2,000 would be a little bit better than if you spent £1,500. So, the reality that the gain you would get from spending £1,500 to 3,000 would be equatable to if you spent 1,000 to 1,500, if that makes sense. I think. What's their highest price PC on here? 4,600. Yeah, crazy money. Because yeah, so for say just over 1,500, you get an i7 9700K. Probably don't get a good graphics card though, do you? Doesn't say. You have to choose it, I guess. 1650. Jesus Christ. You have to, for 2070 Super, you need to add 400 quid on there. So for £2,000. Yeah. Oof. Okay. Anyway, I think we're going to finish up there. I just like to do these little rambles every now and then. Keep my my eye in on what's going on in the PC world. But till next time, guys. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.